sports fans? Welcome to the On the Hill podcast. I'm your host, Nick Rawlis, St. Albert graduate class of 2013. In this podcast, we're going to be telling the stories of Falcons and Saints, diving deep into happenings on the Hill, and hoping to shine a light on the St. Albert community. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check us out at stalbertsportsfan.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to. Now let's jump into today's episode. All right, first episode of the On the Hill podcast started back up. I'm Nick Rawlis here with Lyndsay Daley, our first guest. Lyndsay, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
When we're filming or recording this currently, you just had a huge win last night in the first round of the playoffs over East Mills, and tonight you guys travel to Martinsdale St. Mary's. Tell us a little bit about how the team's playing right now. You won 6 of your last 8 games. What's working well right now for you guys?
Yeah, I think we're playing our best ball this season right now, and that's what we want to do at this point in the year. We're definitely a better team than we were about 2 weeks ago even. I think Alexis has really matured throughout the year and is pitching to her spots and changing up speeds and locations. We're hitting the ball better. Our defense is kind of settling in. Everything's just really clicking right now. Yeah,
it's great. And a good time to start playing your best ball. Again, traveling on the day we're recording this in the second round of Martinsdale St. Mary's. So this season, we'll start by talking about this season a little more. You mentioned Alexis Narmi. She's one of the many young players you guys have. I believe it's 7 freshmen or sophomores that start in the 10 positions for you guys. And just talk a little bit more about her and how pivotal those young players have had to play in, varsity softball.
Yeah, she got most of her experience last year. Alexis did as an 8th grader, so she's been really comfortable coming in and confident this year. She has a great head on her shoulders for being as young as she does. She controls her emotions out there, and it's really key when everybody else is kind of looking at her. Even though she's young, she's still a leader on the field for us. Those other girls, they've just kind of stepped right in the position. They are hungry. They wanted to be out there. It was great. We had a lot of competition for spots, and they've really have filled in. We had some really strong seniors last year, but they've jumped right in, and they've done a great job this year.
Yeah, and you started off the year with a first game of the season with the win against Lewis Central, and then been up and down a little bit since then. The young players have had to play a lot and a lot of big roles. A little bit more about Alexis Narmi. Different than like baseball, softball pitchers pitching almost every game, and you might look at a 12-21 record, but her numbers are really good, and her ERA is great. So talk about kind of the development you've seen just from her, even from last year to this year, and even before that, before she even started playing varsity softball.
Yeah, I think when she was in middle school, she throws hard, so she could overpower girls, and that was probably her biggest adjustment to varsity softball. Was she's playing against 18-year-old girls, and you can't overpower everybody, especially in some of these big schools. So she just has learned to hit her spots a little more effectively, and more recently, she's really used her change up effectively, and that's something that she hasn't always liked to do, but we're really seeing some success with it. So that's been a big key for us lately.
Yeah, and then touching on the younger players, now let's move to the older players. You mentioned last season a few very strong seniors. This year, 3 upperclassmen, I believe. Talk about what they've all meant to your program in the years they've been, and this season maybe even more of a leadership perspective, but what have they meant to Saint softball in their time here?
Well, our senior, Sarah Eggerling, she's been with us 5 years, and I told the girls at the beginning, I said, she's going to be a quiet leader for us. She's not vocal, but I said, watch her work ethic, because she's going to go out there, she's going to do her job, she's just going to do everything you ask of her, but she doesn't say a whole lot. So I just told the girls, and that's a great leader. You just need to watch her. So she's just been clutch in big games, especially. She seems like she always comes up with a key single for us in a lot of games. And then our 2 juniors, Mallory Daley and Laney Sheffield, it seems like they've been here a long time.
Right.
I mean, Laney's played 3 years and Mallory's played 4.
Right.
Had to step in those positions early too. But Lainey's our vocal leader on the field. I mean, I have coaches constantly saying like how much they love to hear her talk. She is constantly talking to Alexis, talking to the outfielder. She's our vocal leader. Mallory's a little bit quieter, but she's made the transition from the infield to the outfield and seems a lot more comfortable out there for us. But those three, they're great leaders, and I think that helps with the younger girls, that they have them to look up to. They all get along extremely well, which helps too.
That's great to have that chemistry and the different leadership styles. So, again, I'm sure this will air after this game, but best luck to you tonight, and hopefully for some continued success in the playoffs to come. So I'm going to transition a little bit to more about you and your background. So you played softball at Lewis Central, correct?
Right.
And are you from Council Bluffs originally? Or
Yes, yep, born and raised.
Born and raised. So when did you start playing softball yourself?
You know, I remember going out with my sister was like 7 years older than me. I remember her and my dad playing catch in the yard, and I'd go out there with my glove, and she used to throw it as hard as she could at me. And I'm like, if you're going to be out here, I'm going to throw it hard at you. So I started playing pretty early. And then my mom was my first softball coach. Which,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah, all the way up till 8th grade until high school. And
wow.
In fact, our senior year, I think she had coached like 7 out of the 9 starters. So,
oh, wow.
yeah, she still continues to coach from the stands.
Oh,
Coaches
sure.
me. Yeah,
right.
she can't stop, but
coach is the coach,
yeah,
sure, yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, softball's just been in our family from, it was my day one love, and it was just, it was a big part of our family.
So did you play other sports growing up, or was it mostly softball, or was softball your favorite? Or
it always was my favorite. Yeah, I played volleyball, even though I was short. You know, I played volleyball, and tennis is my second love. I absolutely love tennis as well.
So softball growing up, and then through high school. So would you credit kind of just your parents and your sister with getting you interested? And
oh yeah. It helped her being so much older. When I was in elementary, I was going to her high school games, and it was great because that's how I just kind of mimicked everything that they did, and that's how I learned to pitch, is just by watching.
Sure.
before I ever took any pitching lessons or anything like that.
So you were a pitcher
Yes.
in high school, and
Yep.
I think I read a couple of times All-City at Lewis Central, so very successful there. Did you go on to play in college anywhere? Did you stay around the game at all after high school?
No, I just I was done. I didn't even try to go play anywhere. I just kind of reached that point. I thought I didn't want to go play anywhere. I wanted to go to a bigger university. I knew I wasn't good enough to go play anywhere big. So I just went on to college, and then, shortly after, you think I'm done with softball, I'm done with sports, and then you find out quickly you miss it. You know, you really, really do. So
sure,
I was away from it for a little while, and then when I met my husband, he made me start playing slow pitch softball, and that was...
I was going to say, I'm sure.
Awful.
I'm sure that's just a totally different
it was.
experience.
Yep. He was playing with some co-ed girls, and they knew me from high school. And they, your girlfriend can play, and I looked like an idiot. It was awful. That's a hard transition there.
Oh, sure. So that kind of leading up to your time coaching, did you have any head coaching experience, or before you got to St. Albert, were you getting more involved in the game in that sense? And
we'd come to some of the St. Albert games because my husband's cousin Jenny was playing at the time, and so we'd come up to some games, and they were starting to play some fall ball, and Terry Miller and Ed Nate were kind of involved. Ed was actually doing some coaching, and he asked Terry, he said, we need some help with some pitchers. And Terry's younger sister and I knew each other, so she mentioned me, and I thought, oh yeah, I can help a little bit in the fall. And I really didn't think I ever wanted to coach high school girls at all, but I had such a blast with them in the fall. So I did that for 2 falls, and then the job came open, and it was just kind of a natural transition for me to apply for the job.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of always how it goes. You just kind of get your foot in the door. I'm
not
going to go any farther than this. Then here you are.
Ended up loving it.
Yeah. So I believe you got hired in the end of the year of 2015. I think your first season was 2016. Is that correct?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Is this your sixth season?
My 6th season.
Sixth season. So What were kind of your expectations coming in as the head coach when you got hired on?
My first thing was I got to build numbers, and I'm an elementary teacher. I thought I've got to start there.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing we did was start with third graders. 3rd through 7th grade we did open gyms, and my freshmen now were my first group of 3rd graders.
Oh, wow.
So that's what's so
Wow.
amazing. I've seen them grow up. But that's how my first thing was we've got to build numbers and get interest and get girls playing here. And I just really wanted, there's been so many successful female sports up at St. Albert, and just softball wasn't one of them.
Right.
For so long, and I just thought, no, we've got to change that. We've got to change that. I love softball. There's so many good athletes up here. We got to get them playing, and that was just my main goal, was just to kind of turn some things around up here.
Right. So that, I find that really interesting, and that's really unique at a school like St. Albert, where you can just kind of, work all that together with, especially the elementary students. So what goes into those open gyms, and at a small school like St. Albert, with lower numbers, you kind of have to, I'm sure you have to kind of find that balance of instilling fundamentals and building that love of the game, but also making it interesting and keeping kids around. So what kind of goes into those open gyms for the young kids?
Yeah, it was easy at St. Albert just to get a hold of a couple parents here and there, the secretaries, they send it out. That was that community at St. Albert that we have. It was so nice just to be able to reach out and get girls going right away. But
Sure.
at those open gyms, I always wanted that connection between high school and elementary, so the high school girls always helped with those elementary kids. But
awesome.
my big focus was probably always pitching, because we had some good coaches going on, but a lot of them weren't pitchers. And softball pitching is different than anything else. If you haven't done it, you can't really teach it. So I think I made all those girls try to pitch at least for a while, just to get them going. But they'd come with us like 2 nights a week, and starting in late February usually, and we just, like you said, build fundamentals and just kind of build the love of the game. If weather was permitting, we'd come out to our field, because our field's gorgeous. I wanted them to know, hey, here's our field. This is where you're going to play. We always did a camp. They loved the camp. And then we tried to do nights where the girls get to come out and get introduced with the high school girls, or do those kind of fun nights, just so they can get a feel for, this is our field, I'm going to be your coach, just building that connection.
Right, and it seems like every time I look at SportsFan or Twitter or something, there's always, a girl helping out in the dugout, or, there's always seems like you do a great job with mixing that young to varsity connection. And so what is that kind of like from your perspective, because obviously that takes a lot of patience in building the program. So what were kind of your expectations? You said now that the freshmen are your first group of 3rd graders, so how have you noticed them progress up, and what's it been like being so not close, but close softball wise with them since the 3rd grade?
It was great. I mean, because they really know me as a coach. They know me, and I know every one of their names. I'm pretty good about knowing all those little kids and who's playing. I know a lot of their names, but it just makes it easy, that first practice of hey, this is what it's going to be like. I think I'm a little harder than they maybe realize when they're in elementary.
Sure.
They're kind of oh, maybe not as nice.
This is real now.
This is real. This is okay.
Yeah.
This is high school. But it just seems seamless. We don't have to do a lot of bonding or anything like that. It's just they know who I am. They know what I expect. They know we're gonna have some fun with it too. But yeah, it makes that transition a lot easier. And even now, the last 2 years, we've started even going a little bit younger. Nate Sherrill, when he had the pre-K through 2nd grade, we started even doing some stuff with the T-ball, and now they practice up here on our field. The machine pitch girls, they practice up here on our field. They leave us notes in our shed, and that's just that whole connection of, okay, they're gonna keep going here. We're just we'll keep building.
Kind of just waiting to work their way up the pipeline and get to the big leagues per se, and that's just another testament of how unique a school like St. Albert can be.
Absolutely, yep.
And so let's go back to your first year coaching. You mentioned your expectations where we have to build, and when you get there, I remember reading or seeing somewhere you were saying there's just not a lot of girls out. So what were some of those challenges those first few years before you got your youth program on its feet really to the high school level? So what was kind of the challenges and what worked well and for those first few years?
Our first year we were pretty successful. We had a really strong dominant pitcher in Bailey Clark. So in softball, if you have a dominant pitcher, you're in every game, essentially. So that helped us a lot. But that year I really just tried to build on these other girls. I'm like, you can't just rely on her all the time. Like, you're out here, you're going to be a player too. But past that, then we had a couple years that we had like 10 girls. Like you said, before those youth got up to us, we had 10 girls, and it was scary. We had a couple umpires and he'd go, "Oh, coach, every time I see you on my schedule, I'm nervous that you're not going to have enough girls." But we just they're the ones that kept me going. They would get beat pretty bad the night before, and the next day at practice they were here early, ready to go. I mean, they were the go-getters of that group. I had some great girls. They just were fun. They worked hard. And even though we were getting beat sometimes, I would always see all these improvements, and that's what it was about. It was like, okay, we're growing, we're getting better, we're improving. And then we really talked about we do a lot of fun things off the side too, especially in those types of years. And I think the girls started to spread the word to other girls, like, hey, softball's kind of fun, like you should come out. And then we had like a couple of years ago, then we had like Olivia Barnes, who said hadn't played since elementary. Allie Petrie hadn't played, and like they're kind of contacting me saying, "Coach, I think I'm gonna try it." I'm like, "You're an athlete. We'll get you. You can
we'll
play."
Find a spot for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's got to be huge, because it's one thing to see a team that's getting beat and not having success in the win column, and it's another thing to see a team where they're improving, they're getting better. And it's great that you always. It seems like you always try to make it enjoyable, win, lose, or draw. So, so now we kind of progress down, and we moved to last season. First of all, the season pretty much up in the air come March. What was kind of going through your head even before the season? As I'm sure you're getting ready in open gyms and everything. What was kind of going through your season before the season even started?
Yeah, actually, we couldn't do hardly any open gyms because it was like right when quarantine started. We really couldn't do much at all. And one of my first thoughts was Shelby Hatcher, who hadn't got to play her junior year after the transfer rule, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, she is not going to get to play again after this. I kept thinking about her.
Because it's not like college where they get an extra year.
Exactly. I was like, this is not good. I mean, and then it happened, and I think everybody was so excited. Everyone was ready to be out of the house, and that whole year, it was special. I think that was with everybody. Everyone was just so glad to be playing. And we played hard because we never knew when it could be shut down or anything else. But, we had a 2-week whirlwind before the season, but it was the first time I've never had spring sports to conflict with. So I had every girl here. It was actually great. 2 weeks with everybody here, every practice. I mean, it was fine, actually. So
and like I call some of the baseball games for Sports Fan, and I was talking to Coach Patterson before the season this year, and he's like, we've had like 3 guys here at every practice, and last year they were in the same boat. So I imagine that's just such a kind of a bittersweet blessing.
It
almost.
was, yeah.
Not to take away from the other sports.
Exactly. But softball and baseball, I mean, you felt bad for those spring sports, but we're the only ones that really have to kind of battle with the other. I mean, we really work well with the spring coaches to try to communicate and have them, but there's no, you can't work around some things with some conflicts. They're going to miss sometimes.
Exactly. So the last season gets underway, and you guys act like, and this is a testament to your youth program. You said you had 10 girls a few years ago, and last year I believe you guys had 30. So,
I think we're up 30. Yep.
So what was that like, kind of for you? And you had success on the field too. So did you kind of start to feel that process coming together a little bit? Or?
Yeah, I think last year was probably the first year where it really felt like this is what it should feel like. We had competition for positions, and we hadn't had that so much in the past, or maybe at one position. But I mean, I had 2 to 3 girls at every position fighting for that starting job, and that makes something better. And that's when I was like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be like, girls. Like, you should have to battle somebody and never get too comfortable that somebody's right behind you pushing you.
Right.
And we had that all last year. That's
great. And you were named, KMA Coach of the Year, doubling your win total from the year before, and then you guys had a deep postseason run as well. So what's kind of it going to take for St. Albert softball to get over the hump and, get to that next level in the postseason instead of just winning a couple games? Right. What's it going to take to get to that next level, do you think?
Yeah, I think even this year we've struggled with that. We've kind of been satisfied sometimes, like, oh, well, we played 5 innings with 3A number 7 Atlantic, and you felt good about it afterwards. But I'm like, we're still not quite there of that. winning mentality, like expecting to win. Like
exactly, our win isn't just beating somebody or playing close with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, and those don't feel as bad, but we have to, like you said, get over that hump of, like, no, we have to have that expectation of, like, okay, we're St. Albert softball, we're here to play hard, we're here to win. And you know, when we beat Harlan the other night, the girls were going crazy, and I said, I'm excited too, but I said, let's act like we got here and we knew we were going to come in and win. Like, maybe they didn't think we were going to win, but we knew. Like, we knew we could compete with them. So, I mean, so they all said, oh, yeah. Calm down a little bit.
But it is kind of that mentality shift of, and that's going to come, you know, with that building. And so kind of with that, what are some of your goals as these kids work their way up, these freshmen now? Have been with you for the past 6 years. What are your goals moving forward for this program?
Just to continue, like you said, growth. We always talk about growth. Wherever you start as a player, we're going to try to make you better. Mm-hmm. We're going to coach you. We're going to make you better. But we're going to have some tough losses because we play in the Hawk 10.
Right.
I mean, we're playing against 4A schools all the time, and we're going to have some tough losses. But we definitely want to continue, like, winning more, keep building that winning. One of our biggest goals, obviously, is making it to state. I mean, first time in school history. I said anytime a team makes it to state, it's special. But I always tell girls, I'm like, I get goosebumps at that, thinking about, like, first time in school history.
Yeah.
That would be
incredible.
Something. So, and I said, like, we're not dreaming about it anymore. It's right there. It's a reality. It can happen.
Yeah, because, you know, you always hear teams, like, say, like, our goal is to win state. Our goal is to, and, you know, that, you know, but, I mean, it feels, like, attainable now, and I'm sure you can kind of feel that, too. And so you mentioned, you know, umpires with the 10 teams would kind of say, like, oh, no, I'm, you know, worried. What do you want people to think of now when they think of Saint softball? What do you want, you know, not only people in the St. Albert community, but people outside? What do you want them to kind of think of in terms of culture, along those lines of what they think of when they think Saint softball?
Yeah, we pride ourselves on our culture. I feel like we've always had a really positive culture between parents, players, teammates, coaches, everybody. And we always say that culture then kind of should be translating into wins and a successful program. So that's what we want people to think of as like, okay, this program is not only just building, but we're on the rise, and we want to be known as a successful program, not just like, oh, they're getting there. Like, we are getting there, but we want to be there.
Right.
Too.
Right. So just a couple more questions, just kind of about, what are some of your favorite memories, if you have any particular, anything that's maybe surprised you, just some good memories you have in your now 6 years here as the head coach at St. Albert?
Oh, I have so many. I'll just think of a few, and I always tell my girls that graduate, I said, don't worry, I'll always tell stories about you. And your legend will live on. I mean, we've got some funny ones as they go, but probably one of my favorite ones was when we beat LC 2 years ago, and that was the first time in 25 years. Yeah, and it was really special for me because the last time we had beat them was when I was on the other side. I was a freshman pitcher at LC. Yeah, it was a really cool dynamic, and I kept telling the girls, I'm like, it's been 25 years, and it's been heartbreaking for me. I haven't lived that down for 25 years, that I was the one that got beat by St. Albert. So that night was something special, and I said, and then you know the St. Albert community is so supportive. My phone blew up all night.
I'm sure.
Just from all these different people you never expect to hear from. Just great win, coach. They were so excited, and I'm like, that's what's so special about St. Albert. But that was a really big win for us. I think last year's district win against Trainer, we had to bye the first round, so that it was the first time that St. Albert had won that second round.
Right.
And against Trainer, who's Trainer softball coach was actually my high school coach too. So we had a connection there. But and then our catcher last year, Bella Dingos, had played for Trainer, so we had a lot of connection there. And just knowing that that's a great program, and the rivalry between St. Albert and Trainer, that was a huge win. But beyond those games, like we do some really crazy things on buses, the bus rides. We do lots of trivia games, all these things. Those are things that I always remember. And then I'm thinking, like, even Nicole Hildebrand, our assistant coach, like a former player. I mean, kind of crazy that she didn't even really love softball when she was playing, and then by the end she really had grown to love the sport. But started volunteering and then wanted to be a part of the program again. So that
says a lot. Yeah.
That was something really neat for us.
Yeah. Well, again, Lyndsay, thank you for joining us here on our first episode of the revival of the podcast. And best of luck in the postseason and best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate all the support we get here at StAlbertSportsFan.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.